सो हाय एवरीवन एंड वेलकम टू माय चैनल क्रिएटिव स्पेस। और आज हम ऐसे टॉपिक के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं विच इज अ वेरी न्यू term which is called as alternative schooling. But to create awareness, we have a co-founder with us, Mr. Saurabh Jain, who has started his own schooling. और उन्होंने क्यों स्टार्ट किया, क्या जर्नी है, एंड व्हाई एवरीबडी शुड नो अबाउट इट, इसके बारे में हम आज जानेंगे. So firstly, thank you, Saurabh, for doing this for my channel and welcome to Creative Space.
Thank you so much, Neha, for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Saurabh, my first question would be very obvious: is what is alternative schooling? क्या होता है ये?
Okay. So to know about alternative schooling, we need to first understand what traditional schooling is. Alternative schooling is what traditional schooling isn't.
Yes.
And if we go back to the 1800s, right, there was this person called Horace Mann who started this entire factory model of education, what we see today. जैसे children of a particular age group need to be in the same class. They need to be instructed by the same teacher. They all have to be taught the same subjects, irrespective of what their preferences are. So this is the traditional model of schooling that we see today. Uske pehle, all over the world, India maybe, the bache would go to a guru, or they would go to a one-room schoolhouse where children of multiple ages would learn together. Younger children would learn from older children. They would do a lot of apprenticeships, a lot of hands-on building. If I wanted my child to be a carpenter, I would send him to a carpenter to learn how to do carpentry. Basically, there was no school to go to learn how to be a carpenter, right? So this was what was there before this entire factory model of education came along. And he started it. And the idea of that education system was that right now we are living in a sort of a connected world and colonization ho raha tha. So I need to send people from here to, say, China or India, and those people should be able to do the same tasks that those people are doing right now. So I need my children or adults to be replaceable cogs in a big machinery, essentially. And that is what the traditional model of education is. So everybody's taught the same thing. Everybody's graded on the same thing. And I give you 80, 90, 100% marks depending on how good you are. And I'll know that if I'm replacing a 90% from there, I'll put a 90% there again, right? So unfortunately, this method has stuck even today, even though we really don't need that, and it does harm to children more than it has any benefits. So a traditional school is any school which treats children as all the same level. Either it is by age, all 8-year-olds have to know this thing, all 9-year-olds have to know this thing. So I'm going to put all of them together. So that's traditional schooling. Any school which treats children as individuals, and focuses on their individual learning and development is sort of an alternative schooling, because I cannot do this individually if I am doing a factory model of education. If my classroom has 30 children, all of 8 or 9 years of age, I cannot be doing individual focus, individual attention. Kitna bhi aap class ratio maan lo, even if it's 1:20, still 20 children are there for one teacher, right? There's no way you can do that. So an alternative schooling is any school which treats children as individuals and knows that all children are not the same, and has programs and practices to help bring out this individuality and creativity for them, so that they can hone in on their strong points and be able to contribute to the world as effective citizens tomorrow. So that's what an alternative schooling is. And there are a lot of alternative schools today. We are lucky to be in this part now that all these experiments are starting all over the world. What our school is one of the thousands of experiments that are running all over the world. And what we'll find is that for every family, right, there will be a alternative school which fits the family's values, ethos, what they want from the children well. So it's for the parents to see what philosophy aligns with our family. And then there are a lot of other alternative schools. If you go to the Nordic regions like Denmark and Scandinavian countries, there are a lot of forest schools in which there's no school. You just take children to a forest and let them roam around and climb trees, fall down, make tools and things like that. All are good. It's just about finding your right fit for yourself.
Yeah. So what method do you follow to teach kids? मतलब जैसे आप बोलते हो कि सारे एज ग्रुप अगर एक क्लास में बैठते हैं, so everybody 8-year-old will have a different level of adaptability than a 5-year or a 6-year-old. He or she would be more faster in grasping things. So, what kind of method do you, have around in your class, and what do you teach? Like, what is that?
That's a good question. So, you made a point recently. I mean, Abhi, you made a point which says that some children are faster than others at grasping thing, right? So that's a very good
Mm-hmm.
point, which I want to like talk a little bit about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
when parents say na that मेरा बच्चा fast है, मेरा बच्चा
और
slow
ऐसे है
है,
नहीं अच्छा
or average hai, like like we ask them ki what is the benchmark against what is somebody fast or slow. ठीक है, like abhi I am interested in computers. I was always interested in computers, so from like the 8 9 standard I could pick up things and I was building things which my classmates weren't like, they were not interested, so they didn't even know like these things existed. So it depends on the interest of children, like what their interests are and stuff like that. So faster, slower, like we don't believe in that concept. It is basically like every child will learn at their own pace, and that is the basis of like what a classroom is. जो जैसे आप पूछ रहे हो कि क्या कैसे कैसे चलता है, कैसा सिखाते हो आप. uh, so our classrooms are basically the entire school is segregated into three studios, we call it. एक elementary
ओके
studio होता है, एक middle school studio होता है, and एक launch pad studio होता है. Elementary typically is between grades 1 to 5, like typically, like I'm just saying grade because I want to make it easier for people to know traditional schools के
हाँ
comparison में क्या होता है, but
हाँ
it doesn't matter. For us, once a child has achieved a certain level of skills, they are invited to go to the middle school. And middle
ओके
school में भी same होता है कि once you learn yourself, once you teach yourself a certain amount of skills, you are invited to go to launch pad. The purpose, the way we segregate these studios, there's a reason to it, and that is basically what stage are you in your life at right now. There's a concept called explore versus exploit.
हम्म
Generally, what this explore versus exploit concept does is that when you are new, you're starting out, you have time, you will explore. Like I'll give you an example. Just say like you are going to spend 1 week in a city of Italy, say for example,
हम्म
and
हम्म
you like food. You are a big foodie. You like to eat.
हम्म
So you're going to
हम्म
go try out all the restaurants in the first 4 5
हम्म
days. You know
हम्म
कि मैं repeat नहीं करूँगा. I like this
हम्म
restaurant. I want to try that out. I like that.
हम्म
I'm going to try that restaurant. So I'm
हम्म
exploring my scenario. कि what
हम्म
are the like all the options I have. अभी जो last 2 days बचते हैं, like your trip is going to get over. You have only 2 more days. So that is the time when you will actually go back to the restaurants that you really liked eating food in,
हाँ
because
हाँ
अभी मेरे पास 3 या 4 मील्स है, सो आई वुड लाइक टू ईट द गुड फूड अगेन बेसिकली. तो
हम्म
अभी आपने एक्सप्लोर कर लिया, अभी आप एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हो आपका
हम्म
नॉलेज, जो भी स्किल्स आपने डेवलप किए एक्सेट्रा. तो हमारा जो एलिमेंट्री स्कूल स्टूडियो होता है, जो ग्रेड्स 1 to 5 होता है, देयर वी फोकस ऑन द एक्सप्लोरेशन ऑफ थिंग्स. So we have a lot of projects, lot of hands-on learning, lot of like things children are exploring. Like one month they are exploring what architecture is, how do you be an architect. One month they're exploring what forensic science is, like 1 month they're exploring what graphic creation is, etc. Like we have different topics. The middle school के जो children होते हैं, they are basically exploiting that knowledge. So
ओके
at that time, when children are 7 to 8 grade level approximately, so middle school is basically eighth grade. So sixth, seventh, like fifth, say eighth, ninth grade तक middle school होता है. At that point in time, they are finding out about themselves. That's also a time they are turning into preteens, or like they're learning about themselves. They're learning that where they fit into the world, how they would like to change the world, what are some um, issues that they see that they need to fix. And then they are starting to put all their knowledge that they have gained in the elementary studio of exploration into an exploitation phase. कि अच्छा मुझे अभी आर्किटेक्चर पसंद है, या मुझे लाइक I'm a creative person, I want to be an author when I grow up, or etc etc. So depending on that, then they start focusing on their strong points, and the school supports that. So like if suppose you are interested in a particular thing, your goals and your plans जो बनते हैं, that are specifically tailored to you to help you become really good at that thing. Now you might want to be a computer engineer, say for example, and we know कि computer engineering के लिए आपको PCM करना पड़ता है. You have to give the SAT or like whatever your CT exams, and like so then they will start preparing for those. So they'll say कि okay, now I want to like at the end of 5 years I want to be here. what do I need to do 1 year before, 2 years
Each.
before, etc.
हम्म, 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 हम्म,
And that's what we do. And generally जो elementary school में जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि like children are basically exploring stuff. Middle school में children are reading deep books. They are learning how to be good communicators. They are learning what servant leadership means, like how to be a good leader. A lot of the time is spent on apprenticeship. So, Flourishment, there's a mandatory requirement that you spend X amount of hours doing being an apprentice in a real world business. And this can't be a business that, your father's friend's business that I'm just going. It has to be a business that, like, you have applied to, gotten an interview with, they're paying you money for it, etc. So it's all like real hands-on experience. And जो launch pad होता है हमारा जो basically 9 to 12th grade का होता है, that's basically launch pad. It's called because we are launching them into the real world now. So they do even more. It's actually run like a startup where they come, they know exactly what goals they have, what exams they're targeting. They're focused on like doing those things. They're focused on doing apprenticeships and stuff like that. So the way they work, coming back to your question, so the way they are able to do it individually is that all our tools and resources which they use to learn are self-paced. They meet the learner where the learner is. There is no teacher in the classrooms. We don't have teaching. So that is what our alternative philosophy is. If I can talk about that for just a second,
yeah.
um, like Acton is a learner-driven school. A learner driven school is slightly different from a child led or school in which basically a learner driven may like we have a curriculum, we have like sort of a set requirements that they need to get at. How long do they take and how they go about it is completely up to the children, but we do have a requirement that they
And
have
there is
to
a
agree
guide.
to.
And there is a guide.
There is a guide, yes. The studio has guides. Guides are adults. Their basic responsibility is just to make sure that the eagles, like we call them eagles, our students are called
Mhm.
eagles. I'll come that to again why we do that. I'll come that to in a bit. But the guides' ka only responsibility is that the eagles don't set the studio on fire. Like that's the only like main responsibility.
Hmm.
Guides do not like spend more than 30 minutes interacting with the eagles on a full day. Like the entire day is governed and run by the eagles themselves. They decide what they want to do. They have already made their plans. So like they have made their annual year-long plans. uh, they have made their we help them with that. We sit with the families and ask them like, okay, what would you like to achieve in this year, and then we work backwards to it. So it's अच्छा अगर आपको grade 5 CBSE level math finish करना है तो that is about 70 units. So if we have 36 weeks to do that, that means 2 units per week. So it comes down to that, and then that is
Ah.
the plan of the Eagles. The Eagles all have their plan. They track it like how we as professionals track how much work we need to get done. They either use Excel or they use, we have a wall, which is a Scrum wall in which they do their stuff. Um, so they have these plans. So it's up to them today that, okay, I want to work on my math, or I want to work on my reading, or I want to work on my writing. So that choice is up to them. Like if you don't feel like doing math today, that's fine. You can do something else. But your goals for the week need to be completed by Friday morning. Like that is our thing.
Ah.
Yes, because Friday is what we call Fun Friday. So Friday is we spend the afternoon of Friday in a celebration of all the hard work that they have done throughout the week. So either we are going on a picnic or we are, doing some fun activity at the studio.
Hmm.
Sometimes once a session we'll watch a movie with popcorn and things like that. So it's a celebration of like, what they have hard work that they have done. But to get invited for a Fun Friday, it's a ticket that you have to earn. You have to finish all your goals.
Ah. Okay.
If you don't finish the goals, then the fun Friday time you have to sit and work on your goals. You finish it, then you can come and join your friends. But basically,
Oh.
like the fun Friday is that like at Flourish, everything has a consequence to it, and you choose that you are okay to take the consequence or not. So a child might say that okay, I don't want to work on my goals this week. And that's totally fine. No adult is going to force you to do it, but there will be a consequence that you'll miss out on Fun Friday,
Hmm.
essentially, or you will not hit your badge requirement for the year or something like that. So our goal as guides is just to make Friday more fun and everything falls into place. Like,
Okay.
once an eagle has missed out a fun Friday, and it happens, they miss it out once in a while. They'll never miss it out again because they just want to be part of the entire thing. So they do their work. We've seen tremendous progress in their code learning. This math, reading, writing is just a small part of Flourish. Um, the entire thing, like in a day, we start at 8:30 to 1:45. Eagles spend only 1 hour learning. That's it. The rest of the time they're spending on doing hands-on project work. They're giving each other feedback. They are looking at the studio and seeing what are the changes that they need to make, etc. Like what you would do in a real world, like as an adult, you go to an office, you are talking to your colleagues, you are asking them for help, you're giving them help, you're reviewing your colleagues' work. You are figuring out, acha, like, this is not working well. Like, what can we do instead to make it work better? So this is what it does. And all the academic growth that we see at Flourish, generally, typically it's 1.5 to 2 grade levels every year that the Eagles are jumping, is a side effect of all the systems and processes that are in place. There's no adult teaching. Children use tools. With tools, I mean, they can be videos, they can be like books, they can be apps that they use, which basically meets them at a certain place and then like takes them slowly on to the next level at their own learning space. Like if some
Yeah,
children are interested in a particular topic, they move faster than other children who are not interested, but they still need to do it. So you can take as long as you want. Like in a traditional school, what happens is that the teacher has to finish the curriculum in a year's time.
yeah,
It's not the teacher's
yeah,
fault, the system, right? She has to go at a particular pace. If your child is sick or absent or you're traveling for a week, like they're going to come back to a class which has moved ahead and they have
yeah,
completely lost it. Eventually, what children will say, कि, "अरे, math is not, मुझे, I'm not a maths person. I'm not a science person. मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है. I'm not good at it. My friend is good at it, but I'm not good at it. And we see this all the time. And that is because they have been like not able to like the schooling system fails them in which they don't help them to catch up. They don't like see that अगर मैंने test दिया है मुझे 90 out of 100 मिला है. So where's that 10% marks that I'm losing?
mm,
Is the school sitting with you and saying, okay, you missed out this concept. ये concept आपको समझ में नहीं आया है. Let me reiterate and fix it for you. No school does that.
yeah,
So in our system, like the entire self-paced thing works that way, in which you give an assessment. If you give an assessment, the assessment highlights the areas that you need to go back and do and come and give the assessment again till you finish 100%. So at Flourish, there's no grades, there's no like 50, 60%. Either 100% or zero. जब तक आपको
mm,
100% नहीं मिलता है, you have to keep doing it over and over again till you get 100%. And only once you have done that can you move to the next level system.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, understandable, understood. So you mentioned about apps, like, kids using apps earlier. So what are these apps that you use for learning?
So I would like to reiterate that apps are again a small part of it. It's not the
Mm,
only thing that happens. Like
yeah,
say for
yeah.
example, we use a lot of apps which are extremely critically acclaimed, expensive also, and like made by companies which are in the education space for like a long time. Some
Mm,
of the apps that we use are say for Lexia, example Lexia. Lexia Learning gives you a good app for reading and grammar abilities,
okay.
basically. So the entire app, if you have to finish, it takes about 3, 4 years for them to do it. And it meets you where you are. It works beautifully. Like, I've seen my daughter work with it. If you struggle, it will go down a level, explain to you easier. And then if you don't get that also, it'll get even one level. So it's got 3 levels of trying to explain to you, like, okay, why you're making a mistake, what should it be like that. But for reading, Lexia is not enough. We focus a lot on actual reading. So every day we have a 30-minute time, which we call DARE, which means drop everything and read. Everybody's supposed to
Oh,
pick up a book from a library. We have a very big library. They pick up a book from the library and spend 30 minutes doing it. Then they can take the book back home, or they can even bring a book from home. We really don't care what you're reading. It can be a magazine, it can be a graphic novel, it can be a comic, as long as you're reading, because we believe that once a child is able to read effectively, then they can teach themselves anything at all.
yeah, true.
So, so Lexia is for reading that we have, along with reading actual physical books. Then for math, we use Khan Academy for our assessments. So you can learn math however you want, but at the end of it, to earn a badge, you have to get 100% on that Khan Academy thing, like that grade that you are at. So 1 to 5 CBSE level is what we follow for math. Um, for our other eagles who are bored with Khan Academy, like Khan Academy tends to get easy and boring like pretty quickly. We have a much more honors-based program called Art of Problem Solving. It is
Yeah.
by this company called Art of Problem Solving, and they have for our younger eagles, 8 years above, they have this tool called Beast Academy, which basically takes math and makes you do math in a way that you use it in real world, real life scenarios.
Okay.
So it's not abstract. It's something that, it's a lot of puzzles, a lot of doing Sudoku. It's a lot of like, actually putting a math concept into real world practice.
Got it.
Um, it gets very challenging. It's one of the hardest things I've seen. I've struggled with it a lot. But what we've seen is like our Eagles spend a lot more time, at least 2x more time, trying to stick with a problem and solving it in Beast Academy versus Khan Academy. So Khan
Hmm.
Academy, they might give up much quicker. Like, I'm not getting it. Like, I'll come back to it later. But
Yeah,
Beast Academy, they
yeah,
like stick to it because it's so much more challenging for them. So that's one Beast Academy that we use. We use a lot of other things like Spelling City is something that we use for learning spellings. Um, we use Evan Moore, which is like a set of like workbooks for grammar. We use something like extra math to learn like multiplication tables and stuff like that. Like, math facts, we call them. So like 7 plus 8, that's a math fact. Like, you should know that instead of like trying to do it, kind of stuff. So they do that. There are like a bunch of others. Like, we actually share
okay.
all our resources with people. It's free. We share them. Like, I have a website which I every time we test out a tool and we like using it, I share it with like our community. Like, anybody can go and get that tool for you. I mean, you have to pay it for yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
but I
yeah.
share the resources. I will share the link with you. You can share it on the video as well, so the
Yes,
readers
yes.
can access the resources. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Saurabh. My next question would be, what would be majorly two misconceptions that people have with this pattern? ये pattern को जानने के लिए what have you come across? लोगों को क्या नहीं समझ में आता?
So, yeah, the biggest one is, of course, people say कि बच्चों से ये नहीं हो सकता है. Like,
Yeah,
that is the biggest. Like, people are like, how does it, how can children teach themselves? Like, it's impossible. Like, चलो ठीक है, history okay है, art is fine, but math, how can they like teach themselves the math? You know, that's the biggest misconception that people have. And even our parents who are like sold on the concept are shocked at the end of the year. Like, now the year will end, so we have a every 6 weeks we have an exhibition. So we'll be doing a last exhibition this time. So at the end of the year, we have a slideshow. The slideshow में we show कि जो भी आपके बच्चे हैं उन्होंने साल में क्या अचीव किया है, कौन से बैजेस दे हैव अर्नड वर्सेस लाइक हाउ मच स्किल्स दे हैव गेन्ड एटसेट्रा. तो जो हमारे पेरेंट्स हैं वो भी शॉक रह जाते हैं कि एक साल में लाइक बच्चों ने कितना प्रोग्रेस किया है विदाउट अ टीचर, विदाउट एन अडल्ट टीचिंग देम. As part of a school, parents are not allowed to teach at home. We don't have
हाँ,
any parent teaching. हमारे स्कूल में होमवर्क नहीं होता है. एंड ट्यूशन क्लासेस एंड एनी क्लासेस जो एकेडमिक क्लासेस होते हैं, वी डोंट रिकमेंड एट ऑल.
okay.
उससे उससे जो आपका लर्नर ड्रिवन फिलोसफी है वो अफेक्ट होता है. तो वी डोंट. सो इन स्पाइट ऑफ ऑल दिस, they are shocked at how quickly like and how effectively like children learn. The other thing that the other misconception is जो multi-age classroom होता है. Like, we are so ingrained, like, because हमने भी schooling traditional schools में की है, that
Correct.
most parents बोलते हैं कि like different age के बच्चे साथ में रह के कैसे कर सकते हैं,
Hmm.
right? Like, it is detrimental, it's a bad thing कि like different kids are doing it together. And the entire purpose of us doing the school is that multi-age हम कर सकते हैं. Like, that is the USP of the school कि तो जो हमारा multi-age classroom होता है उसमें ये बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से दिखने को आता है, जैसे एक बच्चा दूसरे बच्चे को सिखा रहा है. एंड जो हमारे एल्डर स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, दे आर डेवलपिंग लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज, दे आर डेवलपिंग स्किल्स की लाइक एंड इन अ रियल वर्ल्ड ऑल्सो आप अपने ही एज ग्रुप के लोगों के साथ काम नहीं करते हैं. अगर जब आप ऑफिस जाएंगे तो आप
Correct.
एज ग्रुप आपसे जूनियर भी हो सकते हैं, सीनियर भी हो सकते हैं. और स्कूल ये
Correct.
सिखाता नहीं है कि हम सब एज ग्रुप के साथ कैसे बात कर सकते हैं, कैसे काम कर सकते हैं, वो सिखाता नहीं है. दैट्स व्हाई
Hmm.
स्कूल्स ट्रेडिशनली में इतना बुलिंग होता है, बिकॉज दे फील दैट दे हैव दैट पावर दैट दे कैन इन्फोर्स ऑन अदर पीपल. So that is all part like of the thing. So that's the other misconception कि children of different ages एक साथ they cannot do it.
गॉट इट। अब मेरा ऐसा एक बहुत ही आई थिंक फॉर यू टिपिकल क्वेश्चन एक ट्रेडिशनल स्कूलिंग से अगर आता है कि सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोसेस आजकल एवरीबडी वांट्स टू बी कॉल्ड ऑफ कोर्स अ ग्रेजुएट, या अगर प्रोफेशनल एनवायरनमेंट में अब जाते हो तो सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोसेस क्या होता है? सो हाउ डज इट वर्क फॉर ऑल्टरनेटिव स्कूलिंग? वो कैसे एग्जाम्स दे सकते हैं? हाउ कैन दे कॉल देमसेल्फ अ प्रोफेशनल और अ सर्टिफाइड पर्सन स्टूडेंट? कैसा है वो प्रोसेस?
राइट। दैट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन। सो इंडिया में लकीली आप जो भी बोल लो, लाइक इंडिया का जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है दैट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट एडवांस्ड, आई वुड से, इन टर्म्स ऑफ सपोर्टिंग ऑल्टरनेटिव मेथड्स ऑफ लर्निंग।
ओके।
ऐसे बहुत सारे कंट्रीज हैं जिसमें आप होम स्कूल कर ही नहीं सकते, इट्स इलीगल। अगर आपका बच्चा है, जैसे फिनलैंड में, अगर आपके घर में कोई है तो उनको स्कूल जाना ही पड़ेगा। जैसे बहुत सारे स्कैंडिनेवियन कंट्रीज में ऐसा है। सिंगापुर में अगर आपका कोई बच्चा है तो उनको गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में ही जाना पड़ेगा, लाइक
ओके।
आप उनको ऑल्टरनेट स्कूल नहीं भेज सकते। वैसे इंडिया में बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस है आज जो आप कर सकते हैं। जैसे हमारे लिए जो ऑल्टरनेटिव स्कूलिंग के जो सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोसेस है, वो सेम प्रोसेस होएगा जो आप होम स्कूलिंग में करेंगे। तो अगर आज आप महाराष्ट्र में हैं तो महाराष्ट्र हैज़ ओपनड उसका उनका ओपन स्कूलिंग प्लेटफॉर्म फ्रॉम अबाउट 3-4 ईयर्स उन्होंने भी ओपन कर दिया है। तो जैसे अभी अगर आपके बच्चे 14-15 ईयर्स के होते हैं तो वो
हम्म।
10th स्टैंडर्ड का बोर्ड एग्जाम दे सकते हैं एक्सटर्नली बाय देमसेल्व्स। एंड जो सर्टिफिकेट मिलता है वो एट पार होता है, इट्स द सेम सर्टिफिकेट बेसिकली जो आपको स्कूल से भी मिलता है। तो दैट इज वन ऑप्शन। दूसरा NIOS है, विच इज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का ओपन स्कूलिंग प्लेटफॉर्म सर्टिफिकेट है। NIOS है, फिर आज आप IB बोर्ड के एग्जाम्स भी दे सकते हैं। तो ऐसे बहुत सारे है जो आप दे सकते हैं। इंडिया में अभी SAT कॉलेज बोर्ड का भी आ रहा है, तो आप ऐसे सब एग्जाम्स दे सकते हैं। एंड देन आपको एंट्रेंस एग्जाम तो देना ही है, तो उसके बाद आपको कोई भी कोर्स यू कैन फॉलो। द ओनली थिंग जो आज आप इंडिया में नहीं कर सकते वो CBSE है। CBSE अलाउ नहीं करता कि आप एक्सटर्नली एग्जाम दे, बट बाकी के जो भी बोर्ड्स हैं वो सब अलाउ करते हैं। स्टेट बोर्ड डिफर्स फ्रॉम स्टेट टू स्टेट, जैसे महाराष्ट्र अलाउ करता है, राजस्थान अलाउ करता है। ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टेट्स एक्सटर्नली अलाउ नहीं करते, बट मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स आर गेटिंग ऑन बोर्ड। And with the national education policy also, it is going to get easier as we go ahead with the entire thing.
थैंक यू फॉर दैट बिकॉज दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो अबाउट दिस। लोगों को इसके बारे में नहीं मालूम कि क्या सर्टिफिकेशन आगे कैसे कर सकते हैं बच्चे। एंड ऑल्सो ये 10th के बाद दे सकते हैं, एंड देन 12th एग्जाम ऑल्सो दे कैन अपीयर द सेम वे, लाइक यू नो, फ्रॉम आउटसाइड। इज इट
Yeah.
applied for them? Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of exams start from 8th grade also. So जैसे NIOS में एक 8th ग्रेड का भी एग्जाम है जो आप ऑप्शनल होता है, आप दे सकते हैं। तो आपको आप सिस्टम में चले जाते हैं फिर, लाइक यू कैन
हाँ।
स्टडी हाउ एवर यू वांट, बट आप एग्जाम्स दे दो। ये 12th
हम्म।
ग्रेड तक भी चलता है। तो आपका जो भी 10th ग्रेड है, 12th ग्रेड है। और अभी ऐसा सुनने को आ रहा है कि वो 10th के एग्जाम तो अभी कैंसिल होने वाला है, लाइक इन सम
हम्म।
ईयर्स टाइम विल बी डायरेक्टली अ 12th एग्जाम, एंड देन उसके बाद आप एंट्रेंस एग्जाम देके जो भी आपको कोर्स फॉलो करना आप कर सकते हो। तो
ओके।
इंडिया में all certifications, everything is open, there is no restriction. As a matter of fact, like because like जैसे NIOS है, राइट, NIOS offers 35 to 40 different subjects। आप उसमें से आपको सिर्फ 5 एग्जाम्स देना पड़ता है।
हम्म।
तो if your child is interested in a particular thing, they can really focus on that, and by the time वो 12th में है, they'll really be very very good at that। A lot of them might not even choose to do college and save that time and just, like, start a company or like do a job elsewhere, which
Entrepreneurship
they're
है जो
already
भी है,
so good
हाँ।
at it।
या माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नाउ वुड बी ऑन द सब्जेक्ट्स। जैसे बोर्ड अगर एग्जाम बाहर से अगर देते हैं, सो यू हैव पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट्स, लाइक महाराष्ट्र में है तो मराठी, हिंदी, ये सारे सब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं। सो
Right.
does your school or does alternative schooling would have those subjects so that the kid can do the certification? क्या है मतलब, what are the subjects taught?
Right. I can't talk for all alternative schoolings.
हम्म।
I can just talk for our school, like how it works, because like I said, every school is different. Every alternative
या
school
या
is
या
different.
या।
तो हमारे में फिलोसफी ऐसा है कि जब आपके स्टूडेंट्स लाइक 7th 8th ग्रेड के एज के हो जाते हैं,
हम्म।
सो दे सॉर्ट ऑफ हैव अ वेरी गुड आइडिया कि उन्हें आगे चल के क्या करना है। एंड
हम्म।
देन वी वर्क बैकवर्ड्स फ्रॉम इट। आवर
हम्म।
स्कूल डजंट टीच एनीथिंग एट ऑल। लाइक हम कुछ भी सिखाते नहीं है, एवरीथिंग इज लर्नर taught। They teach themselves, the
हम्म।
children। our goal is to help them make the plan and get them the tools to do that. तो अगर जैसे आपका अगर आपका चाइल्ड आके बोलता है कि अच्छा मुझे इंजीनियरिंग करना है, उसके लिए
हम्म
लाइक देन वील से कि अच्छा इंजीनियरिंग करना है तो उसके लिए आपको पीसीएम देना पड़ता है, मैथ्स कंपलसरी होती है। तो
फिजिक्स
उसके
केमिस्ट्री,
लिए
हाँ।
क्या, उसके लिए करिकुलम क्या होता है, क्या करना पड़ता है, आप और आपकी फैमिली चूज करते हैं कि आपको कौन सा बोर्ड से देना है एग्जाम। जैसे आप चूज कर सकते हो मुझे एनआईएस देना है, कोई और बोल सकते हैं मुझे आईबी बोर्ड देना है, एक्सेट्रा। तो हम वो बोर्ड देख के हम उनके गोल प्लान में वो क्रिएट करते हैं गोल्स, लाइक वी गेट द टूल्स कि आपको ये 2 साल का फिजिक्स सीखना है। ये सब टूल्स है, आप फिजिक्स यूज कर सकते हो सीखने के लिए, और असेसमेंट दे सकते हो, तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आपका फिजिक्स कितना स्ट्रांग है, इज इट गुड इनफ टू गिव द एग्जाम, एक्सेट्रा। So we basically take the entire curriculum and we break it down for them and create goals for them to pursue on a weekly basis. जैसे हमारे मैथ का अभी ऑलरेडी हम कर रहे हैं,
सो इट इज
and we just do that.
टेलर मेड, बेसिकली इट इज टेलर मेड फॉर द किड्स.
Yes, 1:1 for every child, whatever they want to pursue.
Okay, 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 got it. And now please mention, in brief, if you can say, ki, about Eagles, like, getting exposed to various fields. Like, I know that you have called industry experts at your studios, and, वो expose हुए हैं कि actual life में लोग करते क्या है, जैसे कि, architecture जैसे आपने कहा, या making their own comic book at a very young age. तो इफ यू कैन जस्ट शेयर इन ब्रीफ कि क्या उन लोग पैटर्न फॉलो करते हैं एंड एनीथिंग अबाउट इट.
Yeah, so the entire learning in the projects जो hands on होता है हमारे स्टूडियो में, वो भी learner driven होता है. What we do is we get industry experts or people who are doing it professionally to come and and talk to them in a way not कि like I'm teaching you anything, but the questions and answers generally होता है कि जैसे अभी हमने कॉमिक बुक किया है, तो
हाँ.
कॉमिक बुक वर्कशॉप में we had lot of comic book artists come. Our eagles
या.
ask them questions like अच्छा what are the tools that you use, आप
हम्म.
कलरिंग कैसे करते हैं, मुझे ये इशू आया है मेरे कॉमिक बुक में, ये आप सॉल्व कैसे कर सकते हैं। तो जो कॉन्वर्सेशन होता है ना वो काफी हाई लेवल का होता है, एज इफ लाइक एन अडल्ट हु इज डूइंग इट इज आस्किंग टू एन अदर अडल्ट फॉर टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स, बेसिकली लाइक हाउ कैन आई बी बेटर एट माई क्राफ्ट।
या.
सो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस। जैसे अभी हमारा एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप क्वेस्ट हुआ था, तो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप क्वेस्ट में every week we had a expert come in and talk. Like abhi last just before the quest, one of our friends is an entrepreneur who runs like a beauty store, and they do a lot of exhibitions. अभी उन्होंने recently startup launch किया है, तो she's done her course IMC she's done and stuff like that. So she knows the exact stuff of stall decorate कैसे करते हैं, लोगों की
हाँ.
eyes कहाँ जाती है, आपको कैसे banner poster design करना है।
हम्म.
तो ये सब जो उनको नॉलेज मिलता है, दैट इज लाइक अ वेरी हाई लेवल ऑफ नॉलेज विच लाइक जनरली टेक्स्ट बुक्स या आप ऑनलाइन भी सर्च करके आपको मिलना मुश्किल होता है। बेसिकली वी आर टैपिंग इनटू द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ ऑल दीज एक्सपर्ट्स कमिंग। आर्किटेक्चर क्वेस्ट में we had a consulting architect who was Pune's one of the leading architects. So she was basically with us for the entire duration. Every week we would do a field trip to one of our projects, and we got in depth कि अच्छा मटेरियल क्या होता है, कौन से वॉल पे क्या मटेरियल यूज होता है, आपको ये इफेक्ट देना है तो कौन सा मटेरियल यूज करना है, प्लम्बिंग कैसे
ओ.
होनी चाहिए आपकी बिल्डिंग में, जैसे ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बनाना है तो वो कैसे हम सोचते हैं, रिसाइकलेबल कैसा होता है, एक्सेट्रा। तो
टोटल
ऑल दिस
हैंड्स
इज,
ऑन एक्सपीरियंस, या.
यस यस।
नो, एक्चुअल कैसे होता है, इट्स अमेजिंग एक्चुअली व्हेन आई गॉट टू नो अबाउट इट. It's so important that the kids have this practical knowledge about hands-on experience. Yeah, so thank you, Saurabh, once again for being with us and coming on my channel. And to all the viewers, आपको जो भी अगर क्वेश्चन है इसके अलावा अगर आपको जानना है फॉर योर किड, तो डेफिनेटली आप कमेंट सेक्शन में डेफिनेटली आप पूछ सकते हैं, एंड आई एम श्योर सौरभ विल बी एबल टू हेल्प यू विद दैट. एंड जस्ट टू मेंशन, ये स्टार्ट होता है फ्रॉम द एज ऑफ 6 years. 6 साल के अगर आपके बच्चे, वहां से हम स्टार्ट होता है ऑल्टरनेटिव स्कूलिंग. और ये होम स्कूलिंग नहीं है. मेनी पीपल मे गेट कंफ्यूज कि ये होम स्कूलिंग जैसा होता है. नो, इट यूर किड हैज टू गो आउट. ये होम स्कूलिंग जैसे नहीं है, बट हाँ, दिस सेटअप इज समथिंग सिमिलर, राइट सौरभ?
Very similar. Yeah. It is
या.
the actual setup is like homeschooling, but with other children together.
या. या.
And it's a full day program. So it's 8:45, 8:30 in the morning to 1:45 currently that you're running.
या.
So it's ऐसा भी नहीं है कि after school activity है या कुछ है वैसा. It's a
हाँ.
full day
हाँ.
program.
Right, right. So thank you, Saurabh, once again for creating this awareness and collaborating with me.
So thank you.
Yeah.
The questions were really good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha, for having me.
Thank you,
Have a
thank
good
you.
day.
Yeah.
Bye.